On this episode, I'm speaking with Holly Homer, master blogger and organic traffic wizard. You don't want to miss some of these amazing tips that she's going to share with us from her vast years of experience.
I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time.
Okay, our next guest is Miss Holly Homer, who is an amazing blogger.
I like Blogster. It's like mobster, only with a blog.
Right, just like a little bit of edge. I love it.
I'm super edgy in my mom blog world.
Her mom blog world. So yes, she is on kidsactivity.com and then also hollyhomer.com, but I'm sure that you can tell us a little bit more about your background and kind of how you got into the blog world to start with.
Yeah, so like most things in my world, it was a kind of an accident. Actually, it was a major accident that I started the blog. So I found myself, I used to have like a real job, like where people listened to me. Like I would talk and people would listen, and like if I said something, like it got done. That was like my previous life before I had kids. And then I found myself in a kitchen with 3 little boys under the age of 5. And they were like, it was chaos in my life. And when you have 3 little kids like that, you're like pretty much a hostage at your own home, because like to get 3 kids into car seats and then like someone's already supposed to be napping. And I mean, it's like a hostage situation. And so I was super lonely and mourning the loss of being an adult that people cared about. And so one of my girlfriends from college, who I hadn't seen in like 10 years or more, we just had started emailing these really long emails. And this was 15 years ago. So like this was prior to any social media or anything. I mean, I didn't even know how to download my email. Now I realize that wasn't a procedure that my husband actually did. I think he just opened the computer. But anyway, so I was emailing her these long letters once a week. It was usually on Saturday mornings. She had 2 little kids, the same age as my older boys. And so we were just like solving each other's, actually we weren't solving anything. We just had we like to vent. So anyway, it went back and forth. And about 9 months, maybe a year in, I remember the Saturday morning, I like opened up the computer and the subject line was, I think we need to stop emailing. I'm like, no, like this is like what's making it like I can get to bedtime because I'm getting this email. Like you can't just take that from me. So I opened up the email and she goes, like, I think we need to start blogs. And she said, and I had never heard of what a blog was. I didn't know what she was talking about, but like this relationship was not going to end. So whatever she said, I was doing. And she said, go to blogspot.com and just set up a blog and then tell me what the name of it is. And then I'll read your blog and you can read my blog. And then she goes, oh, and then get this. She was emailing someone else this whole time. I wasn't even her only emailing partner. So like, this is why I started a blog, is because my BFF needed to broadcast her stuff so she didn't have to email both of us individually.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I started a blog that day. I called it June Cleaver Nirvana because I really felt like I was like the traditional life, but not really.
Gosh.
And then I started posting pictures and I had like I had my mom, I told my mom about the blog, and then my friend Jody was reading. I don't think her friend ever read my blog, but so I had 2 readers. And then like 3 weeks in, I had a comment from Megan, and I'm like, who is Megan? But her name was like a different color. So I clicked on it, and then I was like, Megan blogs? There's other blogs in this world. I had been a blogger for 3 weeks. I didn't even know other people blogged. So, and then that was back in the olden days where like there was blog rolls in the sidebar, and I just threw myself into my new best friend community. And in fact, so I still know Megan today. Her blog is no longer super active, but she lives in California. And then all those people that are on her blog roll are some of my best friends.
That is so awesome.
So the moral of the story is you could actually start a business without even knowing that like even exists.
And I think it's also really important is that, you know, one of the things that we're talking about here that I'm trying to focus on in this podcast is, you know, it's the content toolbox, because a lot of people are looking for the tactics and the things that they want to do, but really so much of it is around the message, but the message really being you. And the fact that you started this whole thing out of just a relationship, I think speaks so much to why it's so successful.
Yeah. And, you know, like I am actually really, really glad that I started back in a time that had no expectations.
Yeah.
You know, like there was no, I mean, like I didn't even know the other things existed when I started. And like, it's not like I was not good at this. I was not good at this. So I have a science background. Like I was a physical therapist. And so while other people were taking those English classes in college that seemed like that would be so helpful today, I was in the laboratory. And so I had never written anything before. I had never taken pictures, you know, other than I obsessively photographed my children almost to a level of insanity, but that was the only thing I had. And so there was no, like, this is how you blog. And in fact, back in those days, you couldn't even Google that. We just made it up as we went. And when, like, I remember the first day, like, one of my friends had a blog button, and most people don't even know what those are anymore, but it is a clickable image that will take you to another website. Which I know, like, that sounds crazy, but like the first time you saw one, you're like, what is this wizardry? How did you code this? And so like, that was like those early days, it was like you would email one of your blogging friends and be like, how did you do that? That's crazy. Like, and that's how we learned is like, if we couldn't figure it out ourselves, we'd like literally go ask the person. Sometimes they weren't very forthcoming either.
Yes. But that's awesome that you learned and built those skills in a community, like all of you guys growing and rising together, but all through interpersonal connection. I love that.
Yeah. In fact, it was kind of easier back then to a certain extent, because while the traffic, like ability to generate traffic to your blog was so little, because we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Pinterest, we didn't have, you know, all we had was, you know, direct traffic, you know, your email list and Google. And Google wasn't really that savvy back then.
Yeah.
Like not really the best judge of what things were about. But like we would have that traffic. So I might have 500 people hit a blog post, but I'd have 300 comments, because that was our social media back then. And it was really about the connection and the connection of whatever I was writing about to that reader. And it was less about me and more about like, oh, like that sounds like something my kid would do, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got yourself into that predicament. Of course you did, you know, that kind of stuff. So it was really cool. And then the other part of that is to keep up with your community. It was really like we wrote every day. I mean, they weren't, amazing blog posts, but it was more about like it was more like a social media channel at that time. Is it would be short little blog posts that would kind of update or tell a funny story or like make up a meme, or used to write a lot of haikus. I mean, like
nice.
Nothing connects to others like a haiku.
Miss, I don't know how to write. I was in the lab. Oh, and I'm just writing haiku.
Well, okay, but 17 syllables, that's a really attractive formula.
I love it.
I don't know. My brain just thinks that way.
That is so great. All right. So I'm curious then. Now I know that you are getting ready to actually go speak at the Social Media Summit or Social Media Examiner Summit?
Social Media Marketing World. It's run by Social Media Examiner.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And your topic there is actually going to be organic traffic for your business. So what made you take that first step in the transition from I'm just writing to be with my friends to, oh, I can make money doing this?
Yeah, so it was a really inch by inch thing, like over kind of a lot of years, because even if nobody made money in blogging the first few years I was there, like maybe like somebody who like, it were tragic stories. Those are the only people that made money, and they were very fleeting because there was no way to really keep that story going outside of that community because there was no sharing beyond that. So we didn't expect it. And then like the first time I really thought about it is I started getting some really bad pitches, like really bad. But they were, basically, hey, write about me on your blog. I still get those pitches today. So yeah, the pitches have not gotten any better. But I thought, like if they're seeing value in what I'm doing, even though they're not offering anything, I like someday this could be worth something. And then I thought, well, if somebody's going to make money at this, it's going to be me. I mean, like, because I'm doing this for free anyway, so I might as well make some money at it. And so, it was then a good thing that I had a science background and a business background. I had run rehab clinics and stuff like that and done marketing and all that kind of thing for physical therapy, pain clinics. And so all of a sudden I started looking at what I was doing, not necessarily, I never thought, oh, I'll make a living at this or something like that. But I thought, what if I could make a few extra dollars? What if I never, like one of the things I am really proud of, I've never put money into my blog that I didn't make first, ever. So I bootstrapped it from from ground up. And so what if, like, and at first it was more about opportunities, like they weren't paying money, but they might like, oh, you might get a trip, or they might send you a product, that that kind of, like I got a vacuum and, that kind of stuff. But I was like, if they're willing to do that, someday there's going to be money. And so I was just always open to opportunities, and was one of the first bloggers to sell out and put advertising in our sidebar. This is how pure we were as bloggers early on. That was like selling out to put Google ads on your sidebar. But, it was just over time, I could just see it creeping in. And then, the cool thing is I got to be part of some of the early sponsored posts. In fact, I ran sponsored posts for Chevy here locally. That was one of those situations where I ran I live in Flower Mound, Texas. What you may not know about Flower Mound, Texas is it had the largest tweet ups in the world at one time. So, and wow. What tweet ups mean is once Twitter started, a bunch of random strangers from Twitter from the same town would all congregate, usually in a bar. Seems very dangerous at the time, but Flower Mound, Texas had like we're a town of 60,000, but our tweet ups were like 120, 150 people. So and sponsors would show up. And so I met Chevy, and they were like, we're trying to get these bloggers into cars to write about the cars. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. And she's like, we just can't find any bloggers. And I'm like, well, like I know a lot of bloggers. And she goes, yeah, they're not, like, we've been running radio ads for months. And I'm like, I can't imagine any blogger is actually listening to the radio. That might be your first problem.
Something about know your audience.
So that was when I had a really easy solution to Chevy's problem. I'm like, how many bloggers do you need? 7. Okay, here's a list. Tell them I sent you. But so anyway, silly things like that happened where all of a sudden, like, I became like kind of the bridge between some, businesses and bloggers, and running blogger campaigns, seeing the pain points kind of from both sides, and then being in the early kind of frontier of writing sponsored content for money, which was very exciting at the time. And what I really learned is I loved that because like I never got into blogging for like the love of writing. It was more about the connections, and then I really like money.
Yeah. Shocker. I love it.
I know there's people who are going to turn this off now.
Oh my gosh.
But like the truth is, like, if you can make money, like doing something that you're really excited about, like there's nothing better than that.
Right.
And so, at first it was, a few $100s here and there. And then over time it was more money than I ever in my entire world expected to have made. And, when you come out like with a master's degree from college, there's a ceiling on what you can make as a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep.
Like there's a ceiling. And so, my husband, who is a physician, we had built a dream house, but one of the things that had always sat in my heart was, if something happens to him, there is no way I could pay the mortgage. Like I'd have to go back to work, and that wouldn't even cover the mortgage. Like, this is way, like, it's unsettling when you think like we've set up a life that I couldn't support. Mm-hmm. And so when all of a sudden my blog is making money to a point where my husband was able to retire 2.5 years ago from a really stressful job and join the blog. And like, we chose to move out of that house, and stuff like that. But like, it was no longer, like, there was no longer limitations. And I think that's what my biggest, like, eye-opening thing about entrepreneurship is we put so many limitations on ourselves our entire life. And this is one place where there's no limits. And I mean, it's really only the limits you put on yourself, or that you like go in thinking you can't do.
Yeah. Oh, that is so profound. I love that. And what a great story. And congratulations on retiring your husband.
Yes.
That's amazing.
He's very happy. He's very happy doing the accounting and all the video content. So. He like every day is like, this is so awesome.
Oh man, I love that. And just look at like, I mean, how far you've come. And like you said, it was a long journey, but, mm-hmm. And now you just mentioned video. So I'm curious, when you talked about like when the blog community very first started, that was the social media where you guys were commenting in your own network. I know that there's other sort of correlations between like what used to be radio is now podcast, and how would you say, like, have you seen the patterns change between how people used to engage online to how it is now, as well as why that still means that blogs are still super relevant?
Yeah, I think the value of I think blogs are completely valuable today, and like this whole website is dead situation does not account for a few things. One of those things is the person saying that creates a website. I'm just going to throw that out there. But then the second thing is is even 5 years from now, when you ask Alexa and Siri for something, that is not just in Google. Like, I mean, I know Google tries to play off that they have all that information, but no, they're going to actual websites and scraping that content from them. So, but for the most part, like, we are still in a society that values diversity, and that's diversity of voices as well. Like, there, at no point is the internet going to say, okay, we only need one apple pie recipe. That's it, people. You only need one. I only need one, but other people seem to need thousands. But like, so there's always going to be this opening there, even when there's less people Googling, even when there's less traffic coming from social media. But like, so I feel like the social was extracted out of blogs and put into, basically Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat and stuff to a lesser degree. And early days, Twitter really took over the blog comments. But then the content has shifted a little bit. I feel like the blog is more about long form content and then resources. Whereas if you had something short and snappy to say, like my early blog posts, I would probably, if I had that available, I probably would have just posted them to Facebook or Instagram at that time, because it was usually just something quick and a quick idea. So, and so I see that as now an extension, but one of the values of a website or a blog is to have a home base. Because when you are relying completely on your Instagram channel, or completely on Pinterest, or completely on Facebook, or your funnel, you don't have a home base. And so I like having that home base and having that ability to let Google know who you are, and just having a place of, hey, this is Holly, this is all the things she does. Go, whichever one interests you, go find her there. Kind of.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And that's a great correlation between how things have kind of changed. I love the tidbit about the short, snappy things that kind of makes sense to like go on Facebook now. And yeah, blogs do seem to be kind of more of a long format with resources.
Yeah.
That's great. And we're feeding the Google.
And we're feeding the Google. Well, and Google likes that. Like, Google likes the long form content. Google likes it when you paint a really comprehensive picture, because Google understands that. It's so much savvier than it used to be, but it's still an algorithm trying to figure out what people say.
Yeah.
And so, the more you can make it obvious, the better your SEO is going to be. But to a certain extent, people need that too. Readers are so used to just the super fast scroll and the snap judgment. And if you have something to say that needs people not to make a judgment within a nanosecond, you have to command their attention for more than a nanosecond. So, to bring them into a story starting, and I really feel like the story framework is partially because of this short attention span theater that we all are living in now. And the snap to judgment is a story will calm that in our brains a little bit to figure out what's going on.
That is so true. And I bet, since I know you look at your metrics, people spend a lot longer on a blog reading through your content, probably even, I would imagine it probably even rivals podcasts, or do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part on Kids Activities blog, we do mostly crafts, and kids activities are super short. I have a little bit of parenting advice and that kind of thing, but I see that in my emails a little bit more, because I'm more likely to tell a story, because I figure like they can skip ahead it, because I always have links to interesting stuff at the bottom. So, but I do think it's the attention grabbing thing, and you can see that it's proved out like with the Facebook algorithm. That's why like you see so many ads in your feed that have like the super long story, like the rags to riches, and then the climbing Mount Everest, and then buying a puppy. I mean, like they throw the kitchen sink into that thing, but it's because there's a certain percentage of people that are going to read to the end, and that's going to help their metrics. And so whether that's an organic post or or an ad that somebody's just trying to get it at a cheaper rate, it does make sense, because people do engage with those stories, or those would be long gone.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. Yeah. Um, so I was going to ask you maybe some tips on how people would or should, in your opinion, incorporate blogging and organic traffic strategies into their business. But I wonder if you even have a story of somebody that has done that got kind of some unexpected results.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. One of the things that I think, and I came from the blogging world, like that's who I knew and stuff like that. And then a few years ago, I joined Russell Brunson's mastermind and kind of like immersed myself in the world of, internet marketing, and which is like a completely different world. Because like bloggers, we give things away for free. Okay. That's just what we do. And we give away a lot of value. And then our readers complain about it, by the way. And then we're like, oh, I'm so sorry. So like the mindset is really different.
Complain about too much value?
Well, they complain like there's too many ads on this page, or like that recipe didn't work out, or coloring. My favorite one was coloring page. Your coloring pages are stealing the souls of children.
What?
I'm very controversial on the internet. I provide free coloring pages.
Wow. You can see
so
how
people on the internet are a little crazy, but the thing is like we take for granted, like bloggers in general, we take for granted the immense traffic that we generate by accident. I mean, intentionally by accident.
Right.
And then I would go over to the internet marketers and they're like, we got 3 people to sign up for our email and it only cost us $12.50. And I'm like, I feel like that's not a bargain. and meanwhile, like the bloggers are signing up, 50, 75, 150 people a day, and they're complaining about the cost of their email list because they're not making any money to support all those people. And then the digital marketers are like, well, I have a list of 49 now, so I'm going to launch my product. And I'm like, I feel like there's like, I'm like in a world in between that's the weirdest place to be, because like these people have what these people are paying big bucks for, and these people want what these people are selling. I mean, so like that's when I started thinking about like organic traffic as a strategy. And then, and we've heard a lot about that. Like Russell is just coming out with a book, and a lot of it has to do with the Dream 100, which is, using joint ventures to bring in traffic, finding influencers using their what they've built, their communities. But what I don't love about the Dream 100 is it takes you out of control. You don't actually control that traffic. They actually have to do, follow through with what they say they're going to do. They have to, like, their people have to like it. I mean, there's like a lot of hurdles in the Dream 100 that aren't ever talked about. And as an influencer myself, I see it. I see how many of the things that I try fail. And then if I just promised you a bunch of stuff and it didn't happen, or you didn't even know that I posted and I did, but nobody really cared, like there's just problems in that. And so when I went back to my own blog and I thought, like, how do I drive traffic? Like, I mean, I get between 1 and 2 million page views a month right now.
Wow.
And so like, how do I do that? Like, it's not all from Facebook. It's not all from Pinterest. It's not all from Google. It's, and so what I did is I pulled out like 11 different ways that I drive traffic to the blog. And then I'm like, yeah, to build up to what I have, yeah, it would take you a while, but you don't need to be driving 1 million to 2 million, organic page views to your site, especially if you're selling something. What could we pull out that could bring organic traffic in, that could be built, in a few months, or, over time, or like, start thinking about long-term game? Because I want you to think about how expensive Facebook ads are today versus a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, remember like 3 years ago when I mean, you could just throw money at Facebook and like customers would like come knock on your front door.
Yeah.
That is not the case anymore.
Nope, that is not.
And like we are lobsters in a pot of water with Facebook just turning up
I love that.
to the point where there is a boiling point where you're like, that is more expensive than I could ever make on that product. And I feel like we're actually approaching that pretty quickly for a lot of people right now. It's why you're seeing more high ticket offers coming out, is because they're trying to pay for Facebook ads. But there's some things you can't sell high ticket. I know there's people in my life that would say otherwise, but Eileen Wilder. But
Eileen.
no, I think there's just some things that we want to keep low ticket, and we just can't do that if we follow the Facebook model. But we can if we start, combining two worlds, where the bloggers start worrying less about the amount of traffic and more about the price they're getting per visitor. And then the internet marketers thinking, I don't have to pay for all of this traffic. In fact, I don't have to pay for the majority of this traffic if I start laying the groundwork long term.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so insightful. But so what I just got from this here is Holly is the bridge between the blogging world and the internet marketing world.
I am the only one. No, I know there's other people that have figured this out, but it's just really weird to be in have really close ties and masterminds in both worlds, because they look at the world so differently.
Yeah. And all we need is each other.
And we literally, and the funny thing is we would love each other if we knew each other better. We're literally those entrepreneurs that are entrepreneurs because we're in it for the excitement, quite honestly. The money is good, but the excitement is really why a lot of us chose this path.
Oh my gosh. So key takeaway, if you're an entrepreneur, go make friends with a blogger. If you're a blogger, go make friends with an entrepreneur.
Somebody that has a really good offer in your niche.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I wasn't even aware of all of the differences between the problems, being so mired in the online world for so long.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you guys don't probably realize is that we get paid like cold traffic, driving to your blog, which most of the traffic, I get to my blog is pretty cold. Unless they're coming through my email list or my push notifications or something like that. But we're paid by the 1,000 visitors. And those of you who run Facebook ads will appreciate what we're getting paid. So, but depending on if you're what your niche is because some niches pay a lot more than others, but we're getting between generally $15 to maybe $25, $30 per 1,000 visitors. So do that math when you're doing your next Facebook and you're like, oh, I got a click through for $1.15. And I'm like, I could have sent you.
Multiply that by 1,000.
I could have sent you 150 people for that. But so there's such a crazy variation there. And so, I think as we get more savvy and as bloggers start adding more products and services and affiliates and JVs to their blogs, that's going to rise up. But then it also serves the needs over here of people who are like, I can't afford a $2 lead at Facebook today.
That is so true. And yeah, capturing that organic traffic, it's so much, and we can use those other channels, the social platforms, to drive that. But yes, driving them to a blog, and then you've got hooks and everything on your blog where you can drop them right into your offers. So
yeah, and that's why what I love about the blog is you can really if you have a lead magnet or something that is going to do well in for your product that you're selling, you just pop up a blog post and put that lead magnet in there. And then, by the way, Facebook and Pinterest and these places, they would rather send traffic to a blog than a landing page for a product. So like that is just easier to happen organically. And it's more shareable because it doesn't look like monetization.
Right.
And so when you can pull people in with really quality content, send them on to other things, like get them engaged in your videos, all those kind of things, is you can warm them up a lot faster, I think, but then also get them on your list. And so you can keep that conversation going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so for somebody who is not currently utilizing any kind of organic traffic or very little, and is in the online world, what first steps would you recommend that they actually make?
So like if you already have a product and or a service that you're selling already, one of the things I see completely underutilized is Facebook stories. Because Facebook stories are just like Instagram stories, and I'm like, I know you're saying in your head right now, but nobody looks at Facebook stories, Holly Homer. Yes, they do. And I have the stats to prove it, because I thought the same thing. I was like, I've never looked at a Facebook story. So the last Facebook story I put on my personal profile got over 900 views. Okay.
Wow.
So like, think about that. And like, obviously we don't know exactly how many views our average Facebook, feed post on our profile is, because Facebook doesn't give us a lot of information about that. But I am doubtful that my average Facebook feed post gets that many. I mean, I have a lot of friends. I'm not posting or anything. I go to a lot of meetings. So most of them don't really like me that much, but so I have a lot of friends. So like, yeah, it has more possibility of landing, but because a lot of, I met you at this conference, or I met you at this, it's not necessarily, we all went to high school with Holly Homer. So it's a little bit less of a, cohesive crowd. But but stories are one of those things that people will tolerate more of a promo. So like, while on your Facebook profile, you may not be like, hey, I'm Holly Homer, I'm selling this today. But in your stories, you could be like, oh my gosh, I'm launching this thing today, because it's going to go away in 24 hours. Like, message me if you want more information. And shockingly, people will do that. Or, hey, if you want to know what I'm up to, it's super exciting, especially if you're in the digital marketing, please just message me, and get them into that one-on-one conversation of connection. So be social on social media. That's going to be super crazy.
Yep.
But if I had no following and nothing, I would start there. If you were starting, then what I would start doing is trying to use maybe stories to get people on your email list, or like a freebie, and a freebie you might even put on your profile. Start a Facebook page or a Facebook group and put it there, so you can start doing the email list, because your email list is a really good place to drive traffic to your content. So if you start making content in the future and you have an email list, that just keeps them in that loop. And that's how I use my email list, is basically to drive traffic to my blog, because that's where I monetize the most. And so I know I've been through a lot of email courses, and they're all like, one call to action, sell something every 3 emails. Well, it depends on what your goal is. Like, if your goal is to drive traffic to something, then that's going to go above, selling something random every 3 emails.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, what great tips to get started. And for people who are already doing it, ramp it up.
Ramp it up. So then, the next thing is, if you're already driving traffic, then I want you to start looking at where that traffic is coming from. Like, where is the easiest place for you to get traffic? So like, let's say you post something to your Facebook page, and 50 people click through, and that took you 2 minutes. I want you to go back to Facebook, and I want you to schedule that link for tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah.
And then you could schedule it for maybe 3 weeks from now, and maybe 2 months from now. One of the things I hear a lot, which I think is a huge misconception, is that my Facebook, I've already posted that to Facebook. Yeah, like 1% of your people actually saw it. And then
Right.
this is a little secret I want everybody to think about next time they go to Facebook. When you see the same thing over and over and over again, do you think, why is Holly posting that over and over again? No, you think it's trending.
Maybe I should pay attention to this.
This is how viral, this is why things go viral, is because you see it in your feed over and over and over again. But yet when we come to our own business, it's like we think it's our best friend and we're calling her up on the phone and saying the same thing every day.
Yeah.
We're not. This is social media. This is not that relationship. This is a different relationship.
Oh my gosh, what a great tip. Hashtag Facebook hacks.
Yeah, and so like we post a lot on our Facebook page, so we can get by with this more frequently, but we might have something that's doing well that we might post several times a day on that page, is because there's a certain amount of, when Facebook likes a kind of a trusted link, which is how they figure out things are viral, is that like, oh, so many people already liked that. Oh, it's going to be popular. We'll release the algorithm a little bit when she posts that next time. So you can almost do that too for your own links to a little bit, is if you only post it once, you never gave Facebook a way to judge it or to like predict it for the next time. So a lot of times, the second time or third time we post a link, it actually does better than the first time because it has some social proof at that point.
What a great tip. I love that. Oh my gosh. Just sit here and pull all these nuggets out of your head. It's so awesome.
It's okay. I can just talk for hours. So like, how much time do you have? No, I love to talk. But most people in my real life don't let me talk about this stuff.
Oh my gosh. That is ridiculous. No, I mean, well, I can nerd out with you as well. I'm going to edit this part out here. I scheduled Mark, so I'm just gonna tell Mark that he gets to wait for a few minutes.
Cool.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, okay. So in terms of like super tactical, because this is the content toolbox, so I definitely want to give some of the tactics. I know that there's a difference between the Instagram and the Facebook platforms for sure. The option when you're doing your Instagram stories to push over to Facebook stories, do you use that, or do you find that it's better to separate those two?
So I do not use that. And the reason is, for me, is because my Facebook page is much stronger than my Instagram page as far as engagement. If you have a really crazy involved Instagram account and a really not so crazy involved Facebook account, I might consider it. And by consider it, I would do some testing.
Yeah.
But what we find, in fact, this is like, if you have a Facebook page of any size, well, actually of over 10,000 fans, I should just say that, because we believe the swipe is the same on Facebook as it is Instagram. Nobody's told us otherwise, but it seems to be, when I look at it, the pages over 10,000 have the swipe up.
Got it.
So, and then you have to do that. Facebook has made this very mysterious. You have to do your first Facebook story, I believe, on mobile, on your page, and then you can find it in Creator Studio. So that's why a lot of people are like, I don't have stories. And I'm like, yeah, you actually do, but like you have to like jump through lots of hoops to find it. But you have to remember, like, Facebook literally duct taped stories together.
Yeah.
So in true Facebook glory, what they duct tape, they don't pay a lot of attention to. So because there's not I don't think there's a big story team at Facebook. So there's nobody micromanaging stories, which makes it the greatest Wild West of the internet right now. So if you have the swipe up action and you are not using that for something every single day, every 24-hour period, you are leaving so much money on the table right now. It's not even funny. We are getting more consistent swipe ups from our Facebook page story than our average feed post. And I have a really
Wow.
big Facebook page. So it's just a really, really cool thing to really watch. So I want you to think about that. And then I believe that Instagram and Facebook are entirely different. Even though, and I think that because Instagram was really coded by a bunch of other people and then bought. And that's why it's so disjointed. But the clamping of the algorithm has been very similar. So I feel like Facebook came in and said, okay, well, we fixed the Facebook algorithm this way, so we'll fix it over here in Instagram, which is why it's such a freaking hot mess over there right now. So what you have to treat them independently. And then I would always go in and look at what's doing well on Instagram and doing more of that, what's doing well on Facebook and do more of that independently. And generally it's not the same stuff. And that's why I recommend that.
Yep. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I recommend different as well, but I'm not even into that depth because you have so much data that you're talking about here. Which, speaking of which, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to mention, like, for instance, my average story on my Instagram channel, which I have 300,000 fans, will get like 20 swipe ups. Whereas on my Facebook page, I do have over 3 million fans over there, but like, it's not crazy. It's over 2,000. So
wow.
like, it's a huge difference. So if I have 3 minutes to post something, I'm going to go post it over there. It's just, It's a much bigger ROI. And I think that's one of the bottom lines here is you have areas already that you can leverage in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. And so if you're not thinking about that on a daily basis, you're also leaving money on the table.
Yep. Oh my gosh. I love it. This is going to blow people's minds. But okay, the reason, I think the final moral here is that the reason that you know all of those things is because you're tracking what's happening and paying attention to your analytics. So let's talk about the importance of that.
Yes, and this is where I get on my soapbox. Because we learned, like all of us who started 1.5 million years ago, this is the only way we learned it, was like opening up analytics and figuring out what was working and what wasn't working and all that kind of stuff. And we just started doing that every day and it just became a part of what we do. And so I would never know what to post on Facebook next if I didn't look and see what the last few things had done. So that's just how we've built all these organic, same thing on Pinterest. Look up and see what's doing well, and so when you're not opening your insights on Facebook, or you're, looking and seeing what's doing well on your profile or doing well on Instagram, or what Google Analytics or Google Search Console says about your blog, like, you're flying blind. Like, you're actually making decisions that you don't have to make. Like, the numbers would make those decisions for you and you wouldn't have a stress-free life. And so people are super scared of analytics, but literally I'm going to give, this is all you need to know. I'm going
to write her down already.
I'm going to you're not going to have to come to my speech at Social Media Marketing World. You're like, but what I really look for in analytics is you need to know your average. Like, what's a decent post? So like, no matter what platform, you can kind of like, oh, and we play this, like, what's it going to hit? Like, so like, is this an average post? Oh, I think it's going to reach 200 people on Facebook, or maybe it's going to be liked by 15 people on Instagram. So, play that game. Like, when you post something, predict what it's going to do. Then go back the next day and see what it actually did. And if you were on target, yay, you win. If it did better, yay, you win. If it did worse, you now have information that's going to make your next post better.
Yep.
And so you have to look every day, and it's not scary. You're looking for those averages and those outliers, and to explain why things are happening. So if you can stop buying anything if you just open your analytics and you do more of what's doing better, and you're looking at and tweaking what's not. It's my red light, yellow light approach. I mean, green light, red, yellow light. I'm patenting it now. So,
All right. I love it. And it really is just that simple.
it's literally that simple. And that's how we built the Facebook page to over 3 million fans organically. I was recently on a podcast by somebody who built their Instagram following to over 1 million. And he asked me how I did it on Facebook. And I explained this. And he's like, I've never heard anyone explain how I did Instagram that well. I'm like, I'm telling you, it works everywhere. It's how we built Pinterest. It's how I work on SEO. Like, it's literally the key to building, because all these things are changing. These algorithms are changing every single day. What some guru tells you a week ago is likely, first of all, not going to work for your page, because he learned that like 2 years ago. But then on like some SEO blog. And then number two, it's going to change. So the more information you know about how your fans and your followers and your readers interact with you and your content, the better off you're going to be for the future.
Oh my gosh. Preach it. I love it.
Yeah. Like I'll get off my soapbox.
Do you have any tips for, like, do you consolidate all that information into one place, or do you kind of go into each channel and look at how it's performing there?
Yeah, so we like actually almost silo each channel because I have a team, and so like I'll go in and look at a lot of different things, but like the girl that does Instagram just does Instagram. The girl that does my Pinterest just does Pinterest, because I need her like making changes and pivoting what she's doing each day based on what she finds, and have like the clear idea of that. So and then when we can, we're using the native scheduler. So we only schedule Facebook inside of Facebook. We don't we only schedule, Pinterest is kind of a hot mess right now. But like, you know, when you can use the tool itself, that's what I would recommend, because a lot of times these outside API kind of things, they look really good and they make it easier, but quite honestly, they take you a step away from the analytics. If you are in one of these big mega schedulers, you don't have the analytics from the day before. So it's taking you a step away from that, which I think is super, super dangerous. I want you to be in Facebook, seeing at what your last post did before you put your next post up.
Mm-hmm. That makes so much sense. I love that. Wow. Okay. Anything else that you would recommend to people that we haven't touched on here?
So I think one of my other, I'll just talk about all the
soapboxes.
One of the other soapbox, subjects that I talk a lot about is something that like I had to work really hard on to get where I am at, and that is to get over myself and to realize that people do not connect with perfection. So it's a good thing when you're learning, like if you turn on a camera and you flub up during that video, that actually makes you more endearing and authentic to that person watching that video. And then if you had done it perfectly. And so we are all learning on the job. And a lot of times we can put, a lot of pressure on ourselves as far as, well, so-and-so is so much better at it. Yeah, they probably have 5 years more experience. Or maybe they're just gifted that way, but their person is not the same person that's going to be attracted to you. And when we look at what connects people, it's those flaws, and it's the funny things that happen, and it's the shared experiences, and it's the, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that out loud. And that can't happen in perfection. And I think one of my favorite examples of that is Martha Stewart was like super boring, and nobody connected with Martha Stewart until she went to jail. And now she's like on all those late night television. She's like hanging out with like rap stars. I mean, like nobody connected with Martha Stewart in her real life until there was like a chink in her armor. And so I think we really, really have to be okay with presenting ourselves as we are. And that's what people are going to end up loving us anyway.
That is so true. And that's, I mean, I actually use your saying, and when I'm teaching my framework, is that people are on social media to be social. They're there to talk to people. And if you're just throwing out crap of like, oh, here's my thing, let me keep teaching you, it's like it's spam. I mean,
Right, it's spam.
like, that's what you say, and it's so true. You're there to be engaging, so
yeah,
engage.
And the stakes on social media are called authenticity.
Right. Yes.
So go be authentic.
That feels like that should be a t-shirt somewhere.
Really, that is the business that's going to make me a millionaire. And I have just been, that's been like a blind spot.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, Miss Holly, if
that URL.
What's that?
I'm going to go grab that URL right now.
Do it. I know. Do you have a domain problem also? I have.
Oh my gosh. I have more domains than shoes, and I really like shoes.
I know. I was looking in my list the other day. I'm like, oh, I'm almost at like 200. It's kind of getting bad.
And like the thing about shoes is you only have to buy them once, whereas domains are like the great continuity program.
I know. My accountant was like, so this is how much we spent in domain hosting last year, and I'm like, yep.
It's like the lottery that we just are all thinking we have all these tickets. We have all these lottery tickets, and one of them's gonna pay off someday.
And when they come up for renewal, and you're like, do I need that much? I hold on to it for that chance.
Why would I ever have bought this?
Yeah, or like, how did I even come up with that? Yeah, we can let that one go.
I was so excited this last year. I used to sell a lot of essential oils. So I had a whole bunch of essential oil URLs, because of course I was going to make 42 blogs in essential oils. And somebody actually contacted me wanting to buy one of them, through one of those brokers. And I was just bidding him up.
I gotta make my money back.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is going to support all those other URLs that I'm sitting in my.
We need URLs unanimous or something like that. Yeah.
Forgot about that. UA.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Holly. This has been so much fun.
So fun. Thank you.
If people want to find you, where should we send them?
So hollyhomer.com is at some point going to be updated with some good information. So if you just hang out there for a while, I will. But you can also find me on Facebook as Holly Homer, my personal profile, or I have a Holly Homer business page. And then if you have children, do not follow this page if you do not have children, because we post a lot. But it's Quirky Mama on Facebook, and Mama is MOMMA.
Awesome. That's so great. Well, I hope that everybody goes and connects with you, and I really appreciate your time here. We may just have to reconnect again and do some deeper dives for getting into even more stuff. So awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Jennifer. This was fun.
It doesn't have to be hard.
It doesn't have to be hard.
All people need is little baby stuff, and then they're like, oh, mind blown.
I know.
All right. Total edits. This does not have to be a one-take wonder, so don't worry about that. And I want it to be fun and engaging anyway. So.
Okay, I'll have fun.
Oh my gosh, fine.